This is the Shaver Prep Football Podcast, episode 5, and we are finally here. It is game week across Minnesota, and teams are putting the finishing touches on their game plans as they get ready to open the season. Like at Lakeville North, where the Panthers, coming off a 9-2 season, are tweaking a new defense as they get ready to face Stillwater and star quarterback Nick Kinsey on Thursday night in Lakeville. It's just one of many great matchups, and we'll reveal our Talk North games of the week in just a few minutes. We have a busy show. Shortly, I'm going to reveal my coaches poll. I emailed every football coach in Minnesota and asked them to tell me the number one team to watch for in their class and the best player to watch for in their class. Also, offensive lineman Quinn Carroll of the Gophers, former Edina star, is here. The Gophers kick off their season at home Thursday night, August 29th against North Carolina, and we will talk with Quinn. But first, a future Gopher joins me. Big-time player from Southern Minnesota, from Byron High School, Colin Hansen is here as we get ready to kick off football in Minnesota. Colin Hansen from Byron High School committed to the Gophers verbally back in June, and he joins me now as he gets ready to start his football season with the Byron Bears. They open up against Providence Academy on Friday night, August 30th. Good to see you, Colin. Congratulations to you. I know this was, take me back to June 5th. Take me back to the Gopher football camp and explain how all of this happened that allowed you to verbally commit to the Gophers.
Yeah. So this summer I had a couple of football camps set up. I went to Northwestern, K-State, and then the Gophers. And then it was the 5th of June that I went there, and I was a little nervous. It was my last camp. And when I was at Northwestern on Sunday, and I hurt my groin a little bit then, and then my Minnesota camp was Wednesday. So that was on my mind as well. But then once I got there, the adrenaline and everything carried me, and I did really well at the camp, obviously impressed all the coaches there. And then, that night they offered me the scholarship, and then I committed.
Did you know right away that if they were to offer me, I was going to take it? Did you tell yourself, if this happened, I'm not going to hesitate?
I did hesitate a little bit. I talked with PJ Fleck, and then on the car ride home, I gave my mom a call, told her about it, and then it was like 30 minutes later, I told him that I was ready, and I committed.
So you didn't commit in person to PJ. You wanted to think about it a little bit.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
It was
what was there to think about?
I don't know. That's why it was 30 minutes later. It was really just I needed to talk to my mom and make sure that she was on board, because both my parents have helped me so much through this whole process, and I knew what she was going to say, but I still needed to hear her say yes.
At the other camps that you were at, were you offered at those camps as well? Or so you knew that if the Gopher camp went well, this was going to be it.
Because my whole thing is that I wanted to compete at the highest level possible, and with that being my last camp and my last opportunity to get that Power 5 offer, or Power 4 now, it was on my mind, and it was pretty clear.
So Colin Hansen, for people who don't know, 6'7", I believe now, 235, somewhere in that range, right? Defensive end for Byron, played offensive right tackle as well. Last year had 38 tackles, 10 tackles for losses. You had a really nice year. Your team had a great year. You go all the way to the state semifinal and lose a tough one to Ricori. How did all of that play into just where you ended up this summer? Having that experience, having that success, did you feel like there was a lot of momentum coming out of your fall that allowed you to kind of really in your mind go, okay, I'm in it now. I know this is what I want to do?
Yeah. I mean, last year I couldn't have asked for a better season. We had 6 seniors go on to play college football, which was incredible. I think one of the biggest pieces was my teammate, Zach Vanderpool. Him being the year before me, I think that helped get a lot of college coaches' eyes on me. And then he also mentored me because he's playing the same position as me. And then just having such a stellar season kind of clicked in my brain how amazing how sport football really is.
Your coach, Ben Halder, I asked him to give me some things to about you.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing he wrote was super coachable. And sometimes high school football players, um, I shouldn't say don't listen, but they think that they have the answers sometimes. It doesn't sound like that's you. It sounds like that you are very willing to listen to coaching. And I'm sure you got a lot of that when you're at the Gopher camp too, right? Because they're in your ear a little bit too. So tell me about that aspect of you and being coachable.
Yeah. So my my dad played basketball at Northern State University. And so with him being a basketball player, my basketball has been like my sport my whole life. And so, I mean, I've always played football since I can remember, but it wasn't really the focus. And then up until about last year, I was like, okay, football, this can be a real thing. And I know that I'm not there yet. I know that there's a lot of room for improvement and that I have a lot of work to do. And so, I mean, I feel like being coachable is the best way for me to keep getting better every single day.
How did you improve yourself during the off season? What were the things you focused on in the off season?
Eating was a big one.
That's easy to do.
It was. Eating is a huge part of it. Lifting consistently. And then with Zach and a couple other my guys, going to the field a couple times and just working on some easy like drills to do to prepare myself for the camps this summer.
There's a lot of high school football players, Colin, that have measurables similar to what you have. But there's more to playing at the next level than just having the measurables. There's a lot of other intangibles that go with that. And one of them is loving the grind, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you're not practicing in the fall, it's in the winter time. It's lifting, it's getting the work in the summertime before August begins. Are you one of those guys that you love the grind, or have you learned to love the grind?
I think I have, because it was about last year that I was like, I don't know really if I'm going to play basketball or football, but I knew I needed to play a sport in college. I needed to stay in the sport realm, and I do love working. It keeps me busy. I wouldn't rather do anything else.
Coach Fleck, what's he like? When you met him, when you talked with him, your impressions?
So I've been up to campus probably like 5 or 6 times for junior days, spring practices,
Sure.
whatever. He's intense, um, very intense, but it's it's in the best interest of his players. He truly wants everyone to get better. Um, he's an amazing guy. Everyone that I've talked to says that he really does care about every single one of the players on the roster, and I really appreciate that.
Your family excited, thrilled that you're staying home?
Yeah. If you look at the picture I posted on Twitter, my dad, he's just beaming with happiness.
I've seen that picture. Yes.
He was very excited, maybe the happiest I've ever seen him.
Yeah. So what kind of pressure does it take off you now as you look at your senior season? You don't have to worry about the recruiting process anymore.
Mhm.
You've made the commitment. I assume it's a load off your shoulders, but sometimes when kids make a decision early like this, they also maybe kind of tend to relax, and maybe their senior season ends up not being what they want it to be. How do you make sure that your
Mhm.
senior season is the best that you can have?
Like I said earlier, I know that I have so much room to grow and that my full potential is going to reach when I'm in college. So right now I'm just focused on having an amazing season with my classmates and then also obviously trying to get some wins and have a great season. But yeah, just knowing that I'm not there yet and I have a bunch of room to grow is like the main thing.
As I said, Byron opens the season against Providence Academy on August 30th, which means future teammate Abu Tarawali will be on the other side.
Yep.
Tell me about that. Do you know him, and do you anticipate a fun matchup?
I mean, I know of him. I've seen him in person a couple of times, some like basketball tournaments here and there. I know he's an amazing player. I think we play the exact same position on both sides, so we'll be battle clashing all night, which will be a ton of fun. That's just it's like a preparation for college because he obviously is a college level player, and I think it'll be a ton of fun.
Last question. Your coach says to me, you know what? He's a front of the line kind of guy. He loves to serve his community. He loves to be a part of all that. Where does that come from? Why is that important to you?
Um, Part of it, I think, is that I have four younger siblings, and they look up to me, and seeing how they interact with me, I know that that works similar to like other kids. And so knowing that I can be a role model to other kids and inspire them, I mean, it means a lot to me. And I hope that I can impact these kids and other people in a positive way.
Well, I wish you nothing but good luck. Congratulations. You're going to have a fun senior season. And obviously, the football journey will continue next year with the Gophers. Colin, thanks.
Thank you, Randy. Congrats on your retirement as well.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Thank you. When I met Jeff, the owner of Aquarius Home Services, I got it. He started the business in 1987 with one goal in mind: great customer service every single time. It's not a buzz phrase. Customer service is at the heart of Aquarius Home Services. I'm a customer. I see it, I feel it, and trust me, you will too. Cooling, heating, water treatment, plumbing, electrical, and more. Aquarius Home Services, earning the right to be recommended. Our Talk North games of the week this week. To kick off the season, Elk River versus defending 5A champion Chanhassen on Thursday night, the 29th. And there's also an outstanding 9-player matchup between Ottertail Central, who was 11-1 last year, against a 9-2 Goodrich Grigla Gansky team. Great matchups, and they are our Talk North games of the week. And I visited with both Elk River, the 5A state champ in 2022, and Chanhassen, who of course won the 5A title last year. The Elks are led by Gavin Schmidt, an outstanding two-way player, both at linebacker and running back. This team is big up front with 6'9" tackle Cooper Mansfield leading the way. Elk River's experience. They have a great returning quarterback, a lot of team speed, and head coach Steve Hamilton told me it might be his best team yet. But they got to prove it Thursday night against Chan.
I know, isn't that great? Back-to-back state champs again, playing each other. It's going to be a great game. It was last year. You know, we really cramped up in the fourth quarter, a bunch of guys, and it was, like most of our losses last year, it was a one-score game. So we're going to get their best, and they're coached really well, so it's going to be fun.
Chanhassen lost a ton of star players from last year, including the player of the year, Maxwell Woods. There's no question winning state in 2023 galvanized that community, but it also raised the expectations. Here's head coach Colin Nelson on the Talk North game of the week against Elk River.
They're going to be really well coached. They bring back a bunch of guys. I think it's going to be a great football game. We might have a little nerves in the first quarter. Big game at home against a really good team. They'll probably be playing football inside, but I think our kids will respond and play really hard, and some kids will emerge, and we'll learn some valuable lessons. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere for high school football and great way to start the season.
There is nothing better than opening night in football. And for offensive lineman Gopher, Quinn Carroll, it will be his final opening night as a player for the Maroon and Gold. They open up against North Carolina Thursday. Quinn Carroll was a stud lineman for Edina. That's where I first met him. And he's hoping that his football journey will go beyond college football. Well, the Gopher football team opens their season against North Carolina on Thursday night, August 29th, and Quinn Carroll is here. He's the starting right tackle for the Gophers. The last 2 seasons, you've been the starter for them. Before that, played at Notre Dame, and we'll talk about your football journey in a minute. But just how excited is this the last year?
Yeah.
Is this it for college?
This is it.
You've had a journey, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you started college in what, 2018? 2019 with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So here you are. Can you believe it's finally here, that this is it?
Honestly, no. It's flown by. You know, sometimes I look back and it feels like forever ago, but also as a blink of an eye. People say that all the time, and I didn't believe them, but it's true. You know, especially this past off season leading up to, you know, now has just flown by, and it's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it. But I'm ready for the next chapter, and I'm very excited for this season coming up.
So for the high school football players and coaches and fans out there that don't know, Quinn was a star player for Edina High School, and decided on Notre Dame originally. We actually did a live show together on CARE where you made the announcement on CARE that night. Do you regret doing that? Because there was a lot of, you didn't choose the Gophers. And so a lot of people were upset that you know, we'd made this big deal about you. And at the time you were one of the most highly recruited football players in Minnesota. When you look back, do you wish you would have done that differently, or were you okay with that?
I was okay with it. I knew that I was going to take some heat for not going.
We talked about that.
Yeah. I knew I was going to take some heat for not going to Minnesota. But, you know, at the time I wanted to do it that way. I didn't really see any other way to do it. So I see the people out there with the Twitter videos and all that. Yeah. I'm not, you know, big into that. Just kind of wanted to let everyone know where I was going, and I thought Notre Dame was where I was being called.
And it was a unique situation because when you decided to go to Notre Dame, the NIL really wasn't there yet, right?
No, it was illegal.
Yeah, it was illegal. So now you're one of those rare guys right now who has lived through no NIL, all of a sudden got NIL. What has that transition been like as you look at your college career? How has that changed the way you approach things?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed college football as a whole dramatically.
Yeah, for the good or for the better? Or the worse, I should say.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it. I think it's good that athletes are being able to be paid.
Yeah.
I think at times it's taken a little too far where guys are, you know, teams are more transactional than they are transformational. Mm-hmm. And they're, you know, just willing to pay whoever they need. You know, if they need a star quarterback, no matter the type of person it is, they're going to pay him.
How crazy
and
is
he's
that?
going to come play for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's all money related now. Recruits are in the head coach's office saying, how much are you going to pay me my first year? Not, you know, will I even have a chance to play? They don't really care about that anymore.
So that's good information for high school football players who are out there listening to this, who are Division I, even, you know, Division II, whatever, and they're beginning their journey through college football. What would you recommend to them? How did you approach this part of college football, and what would your advice be for them?
I guess I would say not to get too caught up in it. You know, it's not all about the money that you're making while playing college football. It's about the experience you have with the players, the coaches, where you want to be, and you know, what's going to be the best opportunity for you on the field and off the field. When I was coming out of high school, when that wasn't a thing, that was my mentality. It still is my mentality, even though NIL has completely taken over college football. It's not worth all the extra, you know, energy to try and make more money. I always think about, like, if you perform on Saturdays, if you do the work and perform, you'll have an opportunity to make more money down the line playing football anyways.
If you're an offensive lineman out there, this is a guy who's given up only 1 sack in the last 2 years, I think is the correct number.
That's right.
How do you do that? What's the key for you in not allowing – it helps when the quarterback delivers the ball fast, but what's the key for you in doing that?
For me, it's just the guys around me, you know, being able to work together as one. Offensive linemen say that all the time, as 5 as one. I've had great offensive line coaches in my career that have taught me well, and also great players around me, that veteran guys that have taught me little tips and tricks on how to prepare, how to perform, how to cancel out the noise and just be out there as yourself. I've been blessed with great size and ability, and I just go out there and give it my all every day. And I'm not really thinking about, how many sacks have I given up in my career? It's more about, just one play after another.
There are players out there that have the natural ability, the ability to put weight on, good weight, and have the frame. But playing your position is more than that. I mean, you have to have strength and good feet, quick feet, and technique. What did you do in high school specifically to get yourself better at that? And then how did that translate once you got to college?
Yeah, starting in like 8th grade, I realized that I would have an opportunity to play varsity football.
Yeah.
And that was my dream growing up. I didn't know if I would have an opportunity to play in college or the NFL or anything like that. My dream was to play varsity at Edina.
Yeah.
And in 8th grade, I was like, okay, I'm bigger than everybody, always have been. And, the head coach at the time, Reed Boltman, was like, look, you have a shot to come play your freshman year. And so that was really when I took it the most seriously. I started training with a guy named Jason Ivestall in Eden Prairie at Higher Power Training. And he bulked me up. He got me quicker, got me stronger. And he, put me on a nutrition plan that was similar to what any college or NFL team had. So I was able to, take it as a more professional level in high school to, prepare myself to perform on Friday nights. And then that translated well to college because it was a similar program, you know what I mean? Same strength and speed and diet that a big-time offensive lineman
But probably
would need.
just amped up even more once you got to college, right?
Yeah, it amped up even more. It's just more of your life dedicated to it as opposed to in high school.
Football players know that this sport is, if you love football, you love the grind, right? Because that's what this sport is. It's the grind. It's not just in the fall. It's all year long, and weight training and all the things that you talked about. Is that why you love the game so much? Do you love the grind?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a little kid, I've loved the process of getting better at the sport I love. It's fulfilling, and it pays off on Saturdays when you're able to suit up and play in front of, a bunch of people and have the diehard Gopher fans there cheering for you. But really, if you love football, if you want to make this a career, you need to love the grind, love the process of getting better. And that's what I love.
So if guys are out there who want to play for their home state Gophers and want to play for PJ, what would you say to them about playing for PJ Fleck? What's the things you've learned about him, and what makes him someone that you want to play for?
I think he's a great head coach. I think he holds everybody to the same standard that he holds himself.
Yep.
And he's the same guy every single day. And that's what we strive to do, is be the same guy every day, same player every day. And his culture really, allows us to hold each other accountable, allows him to hold us accountable so that we can be the best we can be. It's not a, cupcake program, as some people would say. It's not easy to play for. But if you love Minnesota and you love running the ball and you're an offensive lineman, I would
maybe not so much as a receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what Minnesota produces, though. Minnesota is Lou Holtz used to always say when he was here in the early mid '80s, the arms and the legs have to come from somewhere else, but the beef is here in Minnesota, and that really it's changed somewhat. We've seen quarterbacks and running backs and receivers come out of Minnesota. Larry Fitzgerald comes to mind, guys like that. But more times than not, it's guys like you, 6'7", 315, bigger than that. Frank Ragnow comes to mind, J.C. Hassenauer. You can go down the line. Chantrell Henderson, down the line with all the great players. So, I mean, this is where the beef is in Minnesota, right? I mean, why is that, do you think? Why do we have such I wouldn't even say a glut of offensive linemen, but we have a fair share of division. It's really become a Division I offensive line haven for college coaches.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. But for me, I was born in a family that loved football, and we were all bred pretty big. I was always the biggest one. So offensive line was the position I always played. And I don't know, maybe it's something in the water up here.
For people that don't know, Jay is one of six, or Quinn is one of six children. Six siblings, 7 children. His father, Jay, played for the Gophers.
Right.
And also played in the NFL, played for the Vikings for a while. So I covered Jay when he played, and then obviously getting a chance to cover you. That relationship, how has that paid off for you in your football journey to have a dad who had been through all of that?
Oh, it's priceless.
Yeah.
You know, the college football game has changed so much since he's played with NIL and transfer portal and all that. But
the game
the game itself hasn't changed. And, you know, he knows when I have a bad game. He knows when I have a great game.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to say a word. I can tell by the look on his face. And, you know, he's not somebody who's going to, you know, get on me if I have a bad game. He knows that I know and that I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to prepare even harder and learn from the mistakes I made. But he's been such a great supporter on and off the field my whole life. So having my older brothers hold me accountable as well, you know, they're never going to
they're not going to be shy about telling you things.
Exactly. They're going to give me heat, you know, if they need to. And they've done such a great job of supporting me all the way through my college career and my whole life of playing football.
Some people might not like that. They may have a hard time with their dad being, you know, in their life as much. I don't think that's the case with you. You guys have such a faith-based family that their conversation is always happening, right? Good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times with those sort of relationships where guys don't appreciate their dad as involved, maybe their dad isn't as faith-based as you said. You know, I've seen dads across the country who are a little overboard with that stuff. Sure. And my dad has done a great job of allowing me to be my own man, encouraging me in every area of my life. And, you know, he just wants to be the best supporter he can, and he's done such a great job of that.
So Quinn Carroll played for Edina High School. You were, I have this written down, you were a Carroll 11 All-Metro as a junior, Carroll 11 All-Metro as a senior. I did an all-decade team. You were on that team from 2010 to 2009.
Much appreciated, by the way.
And you were also one of 6 offensive linemen that I named as my all-time Carroll 11 team, over 40 years of covering high school football. The other linemen on that group, Frank Ragnow, who I mentioned, Chantrell Henderson, the great lineman at Cretin, J.C. Hassenauer, Mike Dowdy, who played for Notre Dame, was out of Lakeville, and Ryan Harris, of course, played in the NFL out of Cretin. Those were my 6 all-time offensive linemen. So, having said all that, what was the best advice you ever got from a football coach or a mentor as you were going through your high school career that has stuck with you all this time? That maybe someone out there who's beginning this journey, who's a sophomore, a junior, a senior in high school, can take that nugget from you and use for them. What would you say that would be?
I'd say it's something that offensive linemen say all the time, but the next play mentality, that was big at Notre Dame. One thing that they do that was started maybe like 10 years ago was in between every single play, they give a fist bump to the guy next to him. So I actually, when I transferred to Minnesota, I started doing that, and the guy wasn't doing it back. And I was like, hey, give me nuts. Hanging. Yeah. So now, you know, everybody knows that when I'm running up to the line, they give me a fist bump. So it's that next play mentality, whether it was great, whether it was bad, whether it was in the middle somewhere. You know, no matter what you did, no matter what the team did, there's always a next play. And, you know, you just got to go out and perform one play at a time. So learned that in high school from various coaches, and even learning from people who were recruiting me out of high school. And that has been such an advantage in my game, is just no matter what happened, flush it, move on to the next play. What's the next play call? How am I going to execute?
Yeah. So if pro football isn't in your future, I don't know if you want to play or don't want to play at the next level, what will you do? What's the next thing for Quinn Carroll?
Well, pro football is my dream.
Sure.
And
like everybody out there that's probably listening.
Yeah. And that's plan A for me.
Yep.
And plan A is plan A. And after a career in the NFL, I got my degree in marketing. So I'd like to go into sales of some sort.
Football sounds easier.
Football sounds a lot more enjoyable too. Maybe a little harder on the body, but
yeah,
a lot more enjoyable.
Well, you guys open the season against North Carolina. It's going to be a fun year. I know you're going to soak everything in because that's how seniors do it. Graduate seniors do it. I wish you nothing but the best. It's always great to see you. Thanks for doing
thank
this.
you.
And I hope that there's some high school football players and coaches out there that had a chance to listen to you today and maybe take something for their journey so that their journey can be as successful as yours has been.
Appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back. When I ask friends and family what they want out of a financial institution, the word trust always comes up. And that's when I tell them about my friends over at True Stone Financial. They're a not-for-profit credit union owned by the very people that they serve. Trust isn't just in their name. It's part of everything they do, from checking accounts to home equity loans to mortgages. When you visit True Stone, you're visiting your neighbors, straightforward people that are enthusiastic about your financial well-being. Look, you can get a checking account anywhere, but if you want exceptional financial experience, visit True Stone Financial. Start your experience at truestone.org. True Stone is an equal housing opportunity lender. I emailed every football coach in Minnesota and asked them about the teams to beat in their class and the best players in their class, players to watch. In Class 2A in Minnesota, it's pretty clear cut. The three teams are Jackson County Central, Barnesville, and Caledonia. And one of the players to watch is Roman Voss of Jackson County Central. Well, the last time that Roman Voss of Jackson County Central was in a football game, it was in the state semifinals last November. Didn't turn out the way that you planned for a couple of different reasons, right? And I just wonder, have you recovered from all of that, the disappointment, the concussion? Where are you today as you get ready for 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I've never wanted to start a football season sooner than this year just because we're getting that taste out of our mouth from the past 2 years we've lost in the semis to the same team. So, I mean, I've never wanted to start a season earlier, and all the guys are so dedicated, and my body feels great. I feel most athletic I've ever felt, and just I'm feeling really, really good and really excited.
So for people that don't know, Jackson County Central lost to Barnesville in the state semifinals, and then Barnesville ended up losing to Eden Valley Watkins in the 2AA state championship. You were a sophomore last year, but you've been a starter at JCC since 8th grade.
Yeah.
How big were you in 8th grade that you were a starting football player?
Yeah, I was probably 6'1", 185, 6'2".
Wow.
So, yeah.
And right now you're what?
I'm 6'4", 215 right now.
6'4", 215. With some more room to grow? Or
I could put on a lot of weight right now if I wanted to. So
now you're being recruited as an athlete.
Yep.
And so I know you play quarterback. I know you play on the defensive side, linebacker, safety. Which would you rather do? What makes the most sense to you at the next level?
Probably at this moment, I'm not 100% sure. I really couldn't give you an answer, honestly. I just love football. So
Sure.
whatever team sees me best fit, and I just want to help teams win games pretty much. So I'm just a football kid. That's all I am. So
Scouting services out there have you listed as the #1 junior in a loaded class in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
There are a ton of Division I football players coming into this season as juniors. How do you feel about that? Does that put added pressure on you? Do you like that?
No, I mean, it's just it doesn't. I'm just so focused on JCC. I mean, it doesn't really get to me. if I was 6, if I was 4, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they got to do their rankings and stuff, so it doesn't really. I'm honored and blessed to be number 1. It's very cool, but I mean, I just care about JCC and football and winning games and going to that state championship and winning a state championship.
When I did this poll for football coaches in Class 2A, and I asked them, tell me the player that stands out in this class, in Class 2A, your name came up more than any other player. So there's a lot of respect there. You've done a lot of things in the 4 years that you've played. Tell me about you now. How are you a different football player than a year ago?
I mean, every year you learn more, obviously, as you go, and you get a little. I mean, everything. It's true. Everything when everything gets easier when you grow older, and I'm going to be a junior now, so everything it's on the mental side, not as much as the physical side. You work, you train, you lift, you do speed training in the off season, and then everything goes on to the season. It's just a mental thing. So I mean, it's crazy to say. What am I, a 5th year starter as a junior? Like, you know what I mean? It's just easier. Everything flows better.
So you are being recruited heavily Division I, been offered by the Gophers. Who else has offered you to this point?
Wisconsin, K-State, Iowa State, Illinois, and California.
So do you have a timeline in your head as to how you want to figure this part of your life out?
I mean, probably next year.
Okay.
On this time, I guess.
So you're going to play the whole football season, still being recruited. You're not going to make an early decision.
Yeah, I'm not going to make no. So,
why is that?
Just I don't know. That's just how I've kind of thought it through my process, and just I like all the schools I have. I like them a lot, so it's gonna be a tough decision. So I mean, gonna take the time and really think about it, talk about it with the family, and so yeah.
Do you see yourself as a linebacker / safety in college? Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, mostly I'm getting recruited for outside linebacker and tight end. That's what I'm getting heavily recruited by.
And you're okay with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So. Last question, JCC, one of the favorites in 2A again this year. Same cast of characters, Caledonia, Barnesville, Eden Valley Watkins. Yep. Tell me about your team this year. How do you stack up heading into this season?
I mean, we had a good senior group last year, but I mean, we have like 9 returning defensive starters. So I mean, and 2 weeks we had like 6 guys. I started basketball, so 2 weeks after we lost, they were already lifting. So I mean, we got the most dedicated players, and it all goes to them. And it's not just going to be me why we win the state championship. It's all going to be team based, and we got some absolute dogs on the JCC football team, and we're all so excited to start. So.
Well, the season, of course, kicks off in late August, and you guys are ready to roll. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Good luck, Roman.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. All right, so here's more results from my survey that I did with all the football coaches in Minnesota. We start with 9-man. Mountain Iron Buell got the most votes, and the player to watch for was Cameron Hungerholt, the senior out of Leroy Ostrander. In Class A, Minnesota is the clear favorite. They have the longest current winning streak in Minnesota at 20 games, and Ryan Maher of Minnesota was recognized as possibly the best player in that class. In 3A, Stewartville, the overwhelming favorite by the coaches as the top team, and their star lineman, Grayson Schneider, who's going to Montana State on scholarship, is considered the top player in 3A. In 4A, Ricori and Hutchinson received the most votes, but Orono High School received some votes, and rightly so. They've got a strong team coming back in what is arguably one of the most competitive classes of football in Minnesota. Here's what Orono coach Joe McPherson told me at practice about Class 4A.
It is loaded, yeah. It's going to be tough this year, but we got a lot of guys coming back. Our line is really big, strong. That's our game is running the ball. So I feel really good about that. And quarterback, we had 2nd year with Charlie, so it should be a good year for us.
Class 5A, mixed feelings. Elk River seems to gravitate towards the top as the team to beat in 5A, and the player to watch, Emmanuel Carmo out of Cooper High School. And in 6A, Mike Grant and the Eden Prairie Eagles received the most votes, but by a slim margin over Lakeville South. Yes, the Eagles are a perennial power and saw their season end to Edina last year in the state semifinals. Here's what Mike Grant told me at practice recently about his team.
You know, at Eden Prairie, you lose a lot of guys every year, so you're always worried. But, you know, our sophomores are undefeated. Our freshmen, I think, lost one game. Our JV was undefeated. You know, so we got kids that are used to winning. We got a lot of good kids. And, you know, you're always worried because you got to replace some really good kids. But we always tell our kids, you're the really good kid now. So you got to be ready to go.
And my thanks to all the coaches who took part in this survey. Last Saturday, teams around the state held scrimmages against opposing teams, one final tune-up before we play for real. I stopped by at St. Michael Albertville on Saturday morning to watch the Knights, Brainerd, White Bear Lake, Monticello, and Moorhead go at it. The key is to get some quality work in, but get out of these scrimmages healthy. Fun football to watch. So it's game week. A lot of outstanding matchups across the state of Minnesota on Thursday and Friday night. And we look at Thursday. How about this? Dwight Lundeen of Becker going for win number 400 as they host Hill Murray. Barnum at Moose Lake, a huge matchup. St. Thomas Academy takes on Andover in a tackle cancer game for the Huskies and a battle of 5A powers. And I mentioned Stillwater taking on Lakeville North in 6A. On Friday night, August 30th, how about this? Barnesville against Dilworth Glidden Felton, a monster matchup in Class 2A. And I love this one. Waseca at Stewartville in 3A. What a way to kick off the season for those two teams. And watch Ricori take on Detroit Lakes in 4A. It's a big opening week for prep football in Minnesota. Next week on the show, former Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway will be here in studio. We talk special teams with Daniel Jackson, the star kicker from Alexandria High School. He's a future Gopher. And tackle cancer kicks off across the state of Minnesota. And the man who started it all, Dave Nelson, will be here to talk about TC. And of course, we'll break down week one of the high school prep football season. For producer Alex Haugen and the great folks here at Talk North, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.